Welcome everyone. Welcome to Connecting with Spirit for Life and Business Success free webinar series. This is the first in a series of 8 webinars that I hope will really help you in connecting with spirituality and help you in your life and business. This is Andrea Bowden. I'm a success strategist of Align Your Energy. I've been working with energy for 12 years. And I'd like to help you by sharing my personal story with you. And today's webinar is entitled Staying with Your Passion. And I'd like you to know that even if your situation is difficult and you have complications in your life and you don't see a way out of that, and you don't see that there can be a way to really connect with your strengths and your unique gifts and share that with the world because of financial difficulties or discouragement or fear or whatever it is, I want to show you by my example how you are going to be able to do that. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but I will share with you strategies that I've used, and you will see how I came out of it to get to the point where I am today. So a little bit about me. My passion is to help you find and express your passion and your unique strengths. I believe that we're all here to express our unique skills, strengths, and gifts to the world. I help mainly women connect with their strengths by working with their energy and really finding out what is unique about them. We become more connected to our gifts and believe in the value of our gifts, the more confident we become and the more we believe in ourselves. I've always had to choose work that I like because I knew I couldn't be happy doing anything else, and I believe that's true for most of you out there too. I also believe that the work that we're passionate about can change as our skills and interests change. Sometimes there is something we're very excited about now, but we evolve, we get better at it, we move on to another step beyond that. So it doesn't have to remain stagnant even when you find something that you're excited about. Everything is always changing, and that's the way the world is designed to be. A body in motion, staying in motion is really the way to continue to keep the energy fresh and keep your excitement up. I help entrepreneurs discover work that they're passionate about. But just because you found your passion doesn't mean that all of your financial and life issues are solved. I think many of you know that. We still are here to work through issues in our life and continue to develop our strengths, and sometimes we need help in doing that. I would love to hear from you, either raising your hand or typing into the question area what some of your biggest challenges have been in staying with your passions, and I'll share ones that I've come across the most too after you do that. So, would anyone like to share with me today? Okay, I see just a couple of quick comments typed in. Finances have been one issue, and for one person, it looks like it's really being able to find their strengths and develop it to the point where they're ready to share it with others. So I'd like to share with you, I will hope to cover those areas, and I would like to share with you what has been most common with the people that I've worked with, and certainly for myself. Can you be spiritual and successful? How do you combine spirituality and business? Why is it so hard for many healers to make a living? Why can't it be easy if this is what we're called to do? How do we work through the stressors in our life? Well, I will answer these questions as I talk to you about my story. A principle of energy is like attracts like. So The picture on the left, this woman is very aligned with spirit, chakras, and balance, and is very connected to her passion and to her gifts, and very aligned. And she is attracting all of these positive qualities on the right side of the screen that all of us would like in our life. But what happens to get in the way of that? Why aren't we all like that? What I found is fear and anxiety, and some of these others on the list are the most common of what comes up to get in the way. Mostly it's life. We are born, and sometimes we come into this life with issues we know we're going to resolve or work on, and also we are raised by our parents, and we live in this world and in society where we don't really own our gifts very well. We think of limitations, think in limiting ways, and often don't develop the resiliency. Sometimes it's traumatic events that happen in our childhood. I know some of that has been the case for me and for many clients that I work with. Situations occur so that we are not able to rely on our strength and believe that we're safe and secure, so that we can really count on that when situations come up in our business or our life, and we want to move forward. We've learned that no, it might not work. So we've got to work through those kinds of things. We're still sending out our vibration of energy all the time. We can get to a point where we've discovered our gifts and our passion, yet we can still have unhealed and unresolved issues. This is a quote I'd like to share with you. Owning a business is like the graduate school of personal development. I believe this one full-heartedly. I have found it for myself that having a business has brought up all kinds of issues in my life to work through. I went to school for polarity therapy, a 2-year program in the year 2000, and there were business and empowerment classes that I took at the time, and I thought that I was ready to really offer my gifts to the world at that time, and I was at that level, and I did offer my gifts to the world, and I have had businesses since then, but that really didn't take me through all of working through those issues and lacking confidence and self-esteem and daring to go out and believing in myself and being able to share the value of what I really had to offer, sharing my truth so that other people could really hear that and feel that when I shared it with them. So even when we have our passion, we still might send out a lot of mixed signals. We might be excited about what our gifts are or what our business is, but we might come across as being needy, or we might have fear that shows up and just not really dare to approach people or call people on the phone or ask for their business. And I'm going to go to the next slide. So I'm going to talk a little about my story, and I'd like you to see what happened for me and how I got through it these last 12 years. I found my passion in 2002 when I went to school for polarity therapy. I felt like I had really come home. But a lot of things came up along the way. I had a lot of stressors. I had remarried 6 years before and blended families together with my husband and his 2 girls and with my 2 sons. We had very different parenting styles, and that created a lot of conflicts in our relationship. And when I say that we blended our families together, the blending didn't work very well. There were a lot of issues from everyone, the kids and adults alike, and so there were just a lot that we kept working through. I also had a special needs child with many behavioral issues, which created many issues for me, especially because I had difficulty setting limits. I also had grown up with a lot of anxiety, and I continued to have anxiety in my adulthood. And that made it especially difficult to set limits and difficult to really handle the stresses of blending the families together and starting my business and dealing with finances and all of those kinds of things. But culminating in a bigger stress about 4 years later, my son left home and school. This was a major loss in my life. I felt like I wasn't able to finish my role as a parent in his life, and I just felt heartbroken. I can remember a time where I was sitting in the living room with my husband, and my chest was pounding, and I had such pain there, and I had taken a Bach flower remedy, which was, can't even think of the name of it right now, but it's one of the ones in Rescue Remedy, and it's Star of Bethlehem, and it helps you deal with shock. And I had taken this over a couple hour period of time, and it finally got me feeling the pain of my loss. I just really hadn't been able to feel it before because I felt like I had been in shock. And as I felt that, I just felt such sadness, and I cried, I expressed a lot of tears, and I really felt like I was feeling the heartbreak of losing a child even though he was still alive. So during all of this time, the law of attraction is still at work. No matter what we're going through or sending out, we can be sending out the positive energy of our business and what we have to offer, and I did that. I attracted many clients into my my body work and energy work business. At the same time, I was dealing with this stress with my family and the situation with my son. We had also started another business at the same time. My husband had had major back surgery about a year or so before that, and he wasn't able to continue at his current career, and he'd been on long-term disability, and they finally gave him a payout and wanted him to find other work that he could, that he was able to do. And he had wanted to open a cafe, so we opened the Red Earth Cafe in addition to my energy work, and this was in Milo, Maine. And this cafe was fun in a lot of ways. When I brought my energy into it, it would thrive. We would attract customers. It really needed my energy present there, and in order for it to be successful. But it wasn't my passion. It wasn't really what I wanted to do. I didn't want a restaurant, a food kind of business. I didn't want to manage employees. So it kept drawing my energy into it, but at the same time it really took my energy away because it wasn't really what I wanted. It certainly wasn't much of a formula for success. So what happens when we do things like this and kind of take on too much and also still have many of these unresolved issues? The number one cause of business success, the number one cause of business failure is not getting to the mental state required to be successful in business. And that's a quote by David Nagel. So not only not getting to the mental state, but being able to maintain it. We know from Abraham, the law of attraction, that it's constantly the vibration that you're sending out is what's attracting what you're receiving back. So as these issues come up in our life, we need to continue to find ways to work through them, feel the pain if that's what we need to do, and get our energy back to feeling good and sending out a positive vibration so that we can be happy in our lives and also attract clients and success in our business. So What I felt like I was attracting at that time is a lot of stress. I was feeling depressed. I felt like a little bit of a failure. I felt like the world was needing to finish the job of raising my son and teaching him what I hadn't been able to finish teaching him. So some of the things that happened because of this, remember, even after I found my passion, is that we closed our cafe a year after we opened. The statistics really are true, that it takes about 3 to 5 years of being in the restaurant business and staying open in order to be a success and to have the financial backing in order to stay in business that long, and we didn't have that. Not only didn't we have it, but we had incurred a fair amount of debt in having that restaurant during that time as well. So we moved back to Southern Maine. I had a lot of health and financial issues. I decided, since I was the one who was able to go back to a regular job, that I needed to do that. My husband wasn't really in a position to do that because of his back surgery. He was still recovering. And also, my energy wasn't good enough at that time. It wasn't of a high enough vibration in order to start my business again and get clients right away and pay off the bills that we needed to pay. So I did go back to social work, and giving up my business, my energy business, felt like another huge loss for me. It felt very similar to the situation with my son. My heart felt broken again, and I became depressed. And when I became depressed, I really lost my connection to spirit. I really wasn't able to connect in the way that I had before, and I wasn't able to do the energy work, even on myself, that I had done before. I had to use many other healing tools to get to the point of recovery again. Your difficulties are not obstacles on the path. They are the path. I truly believe this. I believe that the situation that I was in and the obstacles and difficulties that I went through were part of my growing experience, part of what I came into this life to do, and also part of what, in overcoming and working through, I would then have the skills to help others do that. It's a little easier to see that in hindsight once we get past the issue. But even if you're in the middle of that issue now, sometimes we can find hope and inspiration from listening to others who have gotten through those difficulties and who have come out on the other side. It takes courage to grow up and turn out to be who you really are. I had to heal my mind, body, and spirit before I could start to develop my business again. I continued doing my social work job. I didn't have the energy, either physical energy or the good vibration of energy, to start my business on the side again. I really had to devote a couple-year time in order to recover and feel good again before I could start doing that. I took traditional medications for a period of time, for briefly. I used therapy. I found a holistic therapist that I could use more like a life coach. I used physical therapy, chiropractic, support groups, supplements. Nutrition is one of my other interests and hobbies in life. And I found some other self-healing modalities that I was able to do even though I didn't have the energy to do the more complicated energy work that I had been trained in. A couple of those are listed on my website. One of them is Body Wisdom, is a book by Sharon Giammatteo, which is on the resources page of my website. As I mentioned, I recommend getting that. That was recommended by my physical therapist, and it involves placing your hand on different areas of your body, such as your liver, which represents anger. So that was one of the areas that I would work on. I had some anger and frustration about what my current situation was in life. And then another hand position might be putting my hand behind my back, across the middle of my back, where my kidneys are, which represents fear, and reflexing those two areas together. In the book, Body Wisdom, there are many recommendations for different situations that you can use for healing physically, mentally, emotionally, and there's a great checklist for showing you what the different areas mean energetically. And in order to work through these, help your body, anyone can do this. You don't have to be a healer, and I really believe that we're all healers anyway. So in order to work through these areas, and I used a pendulum, and I used my intuition to decide which areas to reflex together, you might need 3 or 4 hours reflexing those two areas together in order to work through that issue. You might need 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 hours. But it's something that you can do 10 to 20 minutes at a time, even when you're watching TV, even when, sometimes I would go into a movie at the theater, and I would use that time to do my hand placements and my healing work on myself. Or even ask a partner to help you. I would sit beside my husband and have him with, one hand behind my back and in a particular area, and I would do the other hand placement, and I would continue to heal over a period of time. Another book that I used is Energy Medicine by Donna Eden. There are great pictures in there for showing you where all the meridians are, and there's many energy practices in it that anyone can do. And one of the ones I particularly liked is it shows you a couple of acupressure points, usually at the beginning or at some point along the meridian of that you're working with, and it will show you how to strengthen that meridian and how to relax that meridian, because sometimes our meridians get overactivated, overstimulated, and they really just need to relax. And sometimes they need to be strengthened. And you can use intuition, you can use a pendulum, and there are also ways she gives some descriptions about working with that too. Another book that is recommended on my website is Loving What Is by Byron Katie. And I recommend that for working through pretty much any issue in your life, any area of loss, any area that you need to accept your situation, perhaps, what your situation is in your business. And I certainly use it for my business sometimes as well, but mainly I worked with it in working through the issue with my son. The other thing I use is Feng Shui. There's many fun books to read on Feng Shui. I recommend a couple on my website, and that's been a hobby of mine, and it's actually what got me into energy work in alternative therapies to begin with, is finding Clear Your Clutter with Feng Shui was a book that I was drawn to. So these techniques really helped me heal, and I would recommend them to you as you're continuing to work over them. I didn't describe a process that was quick, but when you are to the point where things have shown up in your body, or you're really frustrated or depressed, it's going to take time to resolve them. And it can be much quicker if you're working with someone else. But if you need to work on these issues yourself, you can work on it over a series of weeks or months or even a couple of years, as I needed to. So I had to heal my mind, body, and spirit, as I mentioned. And as I got better, I also took business and website and marketing classes and later social media classes. And this gave me a chance to add a whole other area to my business that I didn't have before. I also had taken a life coaching course just before this difficult period of time, actually, but it gave me time to really integrate all of that. And at first, when I started developing my business again, I really would get very frustrated that I couldn't put all of my energy into my business at that time. So sometimes it really felt detrimental to my well-being and to the current job that I had by starting the business, because it would really bring a lot of things up. But I would just have to learn to take it easy and do things just one step at a time, bit by bit. And that's what I wanted to share in my next slide. You don't have to leap across the whole pond. You can just leap from lily pad to lily pad. As long as you keep moving, that's all that's important. You can go slowly, you can run very fast, you can move at whatever pace is right for you. Whatever pace feels good and feels right. I really had to heal myself to the point where I had extra energy to put into developing my business and still have energy and time for my family as well, and for the work that I had, the social work position that I had taken. And that takes a lot of energy, really, considering how I had been doing, the depression, but depression is also sometimes adrenal burnout, and I really felt like my adrenals were very burned out, and it really takes about a 2-year recovery for that when that happens. So the point is to get whatever help you can get, whether that's help for from yourself or help from outside, and to just keep moving forward. So then I finally got to my reconnection to spirit. As I healed, I was thrilled that I was able to work and connect with spirit again. This felt like such a gift to have that return to me. I began to take more energy classes to help in that connection and develop my skills, and I learned many other attunements that I could pass on to others. And I also began working with coaches to develop my gifts even more. If you want to move forward quickly, working with a coach is the way to go. I really felt like I wasn't in a position to do that early on. I really had to work on healing. But when I got to the point I really wanted to give myself a boost forward in my business, then that's what I chose at that time. I healed my relationship with my son, and I'm very close to him today. He's very important to me, and I feel like he learned a lot through his big experience. So it doesn't mean that that was a mistake, or it was devastating. It certainly felt devastating, but it doesn't mean that it shouldn't have happened. But it was a very difficult experience to have gotten through for all of us, and it's something that we have healed quite a bit. And again, as I mentioned, we're very close. Also, about almost 2 years ago, I gave up that social work position that I had gone back to and was able to move into just my business again, Align Your Energy. And I was very excited to be able to do that. And it took a lot of those new tools that I had started using to be able to do that and really make that leap forward. When the voice and vision inside you become more profound, clearer, louder than opinions outside you, you've mastered your life. I love that quote by Dr. DeMartini. If your voice and your vision and your truth and your gifts want to be heard, and they become more important than everything that comes up to say why not to do it, then they're going to be heard. It's just a matter of working with it and allowing it to come out in a clearer way and in a stronger way than the objections that come up for not to do it. Spiritual progress is measured by the extent to which inner tranquility is achieved. So I think that's connected also, because when we work through our fears, often related to those objections, anxiety, worry, stresses and frustrations, really unhappiness to any situation in our life, sometimes grief and sorrow, and also releasing attachment to situations so that we're able to Sometimes we can want or, wish for more. That is wonderful, but not being attached to it. When we get to the point when we have that tranquility, that's a lot of spiritual progress. And we're able to move forward very quickly at that time because we're not sending out a vibration of lack or unhappiness about what we don't want. Once you've worked through big issues in your life, it creates a sense of peacefulness and helps every other area of your life. Listening to the voice inside you and being connected to guidance is one of the most wonderful gifts that I know. When your energetic systems are in repair, you'll begin to resonate with your highest potential. Nancy Risley is the teacher of the school that I went to originally, and finding that alignment, finding that energy similar to the woman at the beginning of the slide with her chakras shining vibrantly, finding that inner peace and tranquility attracts you and aligns you with all those things that you want in your life. And that's what I love to do, is help people create lives and work that they love. My work is reading energy systems. I can see energy systems and see what's holding you back energetically, and that's one of the areas I really like to work with, is finding out what is holding you back. I release and clear attachments, fear, anxiety, cords, grief and loss. I work with aspects or subpersonalities, clear entities, trauma, past life issues. I strengthen parts or aspects that are required for success and happiness in business and in your life. Parts of you that know your passion, strengths, and gifts. And I also work with less powerful aspects, ones that are unhealed, that hold a more negative pole of vibration, of the fear, the grief, the powerlessness that we sometimes feel. And I work in healing and clearing those aspects to really bring you into alignment and strength and connection to your truth so that you have that to share with others. I use healing and energy clearing and repair, coaching, and I work always with my spiritual guides. Every session begins with connection to spiritual guides and asking my guides how to start out with that particular session with that particular person. Receiving energy work and coaching is beneficial for anyone in business to help hold your energy, your strengths, and move forward, move past fear, develop self-confidence, and connect with your truth. But another thing that I offer is attunements. And there are many business owners that are not healers or light workers who wouldn't normally think of receiving attunements. But I find that they are helpful in helping business owners and any others really move forward in their life, get more connected to spirit, and resolve issues that have shown up in your life that you really need some help resolving. And it can also give you tools for working on yourself in a way that can provide healing and give you some follow-up care. I have a few examples of clients that I've worked with that I wanted to share with you. I assisted a client in rediscovering her inner wild child that was full of confidence, exuberance, and creativity that had been left behind early in life. She didn't know where or why this wild child had disappeared, but that part of her is now an integral part of her and her work. Another very spiritual healer had stopped healing work because she couldn't clear the energy that she took on from her clients during sessions. She not only is able to stay more clear, but is doing amazing healing sessions, attracted many clients, and is connected to many more spiritual guides and angels through our work together. She's amazed by where she is now. A client who was trained as a healer didn't have a sense of her purpose. She still had so much early childhood trauma and abuse to heal from that it really held her back. It held her back to the point where she still kept herself in unhealthy situations in her adult life that were causing those amazing, creative, healing parts of hers feel too unsafe to come out and play and let her feel passionate about anything. Through our work, she healed those parts and set strong limits in her life to honor herself instead of others. She now has a sense of her purpose and passion in life. There are many ways to work with me through classes, groups, and series of individual sessions or packages. I offer a free energy clearing kit at my website, alignyourenergy.com, and I also offer a free energy assessment if you're serious about moving forward in your life or business. I'll talk to you about your goals, read your energy, and tell you what's holding you back from achieving them and suggest some options for working with them. Whether you can choose to work with me or not, you'll benefit from talking with me and having me read your energy system and giving you recommendations based on that. You can email me at andrea@alignyourenergy.com to set up your free energy assessment. And even if you're watching this webinar later, at some point in the future, I am offering discounts on several new packages that I have. And if you send me an email letting me know that you would like to know about discounts from having watched this webinar on Vimeo or on YouTube, then I'll offer you those discounts as well. Just send me an email for your free energy assessment and we'll set something up. As soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. Another one of my famous, I wish it was just me, another one of my favorite quotes. So I wanted to see if anyone had questions. You can type into the question area or you can raise your hand. I think there were a couple of questions that were already typed in during the webinar. One is, I'm at the beginning levels of taking an 18-level healer's training course with Dr. Richard Jelicic. How did you begin seeing, hearing, or receiving the information in a person's energy field? Gradually or all of a sudden, or as a large piece of information? What does it look like when you receive the information, and how can I recognize when I'm beginning to pick up this information when I practice? Okay, that was written in by Cecilia. Thank you. That's a very good point. When I first started working and receiving intuitive information, it mainly came in visually, which I mean in my mind's eye. And sometimes it would be very unclear as to what it was. I would just have to start to share a little bit of that information. Sometimes I might see a flower or a box or whatever it was. But in order to trust Spirit, I had to start sharing that information before I received the next piece of it and before I received information about what it really meant, because sometimes information would often come in symbolically. So my first channelings or intuitive readings were often very stilted and came in pieces. And I still gave some information, but it was a lot of practice on really developing the trust in Spirit and the trust that I was getting information, that it wasn't just my imagination. Another thing is that I've always been very kinesthetic. I could feel or sense whether something felt right or not, just what was the right thing to do. But I had disconnected from that part of me early on in life because I would often feel a certain way and feel like something wasn't right, but then told by others in my life something different. And I believed the others that, oh no, everything is fine, or whatever the other answer was. And so I learned kind of a disconnect to that tuning into myself and really trusting myself and that kinesthetic information and my intuition. Through going to school, I learned to trust my intuition and to get connected and trust that kinesthetic information again. So that also became one of the strongest ways that I received information, is kinesthetically. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that as you start receiving information, usually you can develop a strength of receiving information in one way or another, and as you continue with it, you can receive information in so many different ways. And I recommend asking Spirit, asking your guides that you'd like to begin receiving information in all the ways, so that you can, sometimes you might have a sense of smell of something, or you might hear a voice, or you might just have an inner knowing, more prophetic, just what the answer is. And I often have that now as well. I also have a great communication system with my guides and my guidance, so that I can ask questions and receive answers to that as well, whether that be something that I hear or know, or whether I just feel it. So there can be a long, learning process in that, but the more that you trust it and go with it, it will develop. So I really appreciate that question, so that other people know, just because you don't have that amazing ability right at the beginning doesn't mean you can't develop it. Okay, there's another question. How do you explain your work and passion to loved ones who may not have any or very little understanding or openness or belief in spiritual or energy work? Well, I think there's two different answers to that. One is, you may not want to share, a lot about your beliefs. If it's someone who's not really open to hearing, you can really go inside and ask your guidance, is this really someone to connect with or not, or really to share those beliefs or not, especially if you're starting out at first and it's kind of a sensitive gift for you, where you might be vulnerable to other people's thoughts or beliefs. Then you may not want to share that. You might keep some of that to yourself, and you can use some of the more traditional ways of saying that you do body work, or something like Reiki, which is more well accepted, or massage, or talking about those kinds of things, or coaching. Coaching's fairly well accepted now too. And then the other option is to just share it all and stand in your truth, and not release attachment to what anyone thinks, and not worry about that. So it's for you to decide, or somewhere in between. But I appreciate the question. Okay, another question written in is, my biggest challenges have been myself, believing that others will also find value in what I do, and also financial, because I don't always have extra money to spare for the business, and because I don't know if people will be willing to pay for my services. Mostly I think I may just be getting in my way. LOL. Okay, so by sharing the way that you did, I think you have answered your question, that yes, it is us that often gets in our own way. So it's clearing and healing those issues, the doubt that we have in ourselves, the fear in sharing our truth, and finding ways to get through that and to get over that. If you share your work with others, asking for testimonials when people are really happy with your work can really boost your confidence. Getting in a community of others who are also sharing work similar to yours can really boost your confidence. And then just find a way to get back to that. Of course, coaching and energy work can help bring you into alignment, help you find your next steps towards that. And a lot of it is working through issues in whatever way that you choose to work through them. And know that you have to invest in your business if you want to be successful in business. So whatever way that feels right to you, or even if it's a stretch. Sometimes, just finding someone to work with that really resonates with you, or has a quality that you wish that you already had, can be one of the best ways to develop it in yourself, because you can do that through modeling and learn what they've already found out. Thank you. I appreciate the question. Okay. How do you integrate energy work into a political system whose beliefs do not match? I'm wondering if you can write in any more about that. Clarify that question a little bit. Okay, coming in. The question is about combining two different professions, so adding in energy work with another kind of profession. Well, as long as you integrate it in your own mind, I don't think it has to really be integrated for people that you work with. There's a lot you can do energetically, and that we all the time do energetically anyway, whether we're say that we're really doing energy work or not. It's coming out in our vibration and in our speech, how we talk with others, what we share with others, and sometimes there are ways to bring that out in the conversation, and sometimes they're not, and sometimes not. So I would again ask inside and check with your guidance whether this is something to share, whether it's yours to do, and how much to share. But just know that if you've integrated it yourself, then you're already doing energy work in your other profession, whether you say that that's what you're doing or not. That's a great question. And it looks like it was working in the mental health field. So I appreciate that. One last question was, when confronted by, looks like starting with a quote, when confronted by heartbreaking loss, we touch the mastery of life. And that's by Thomas More suggests learning to honor the mystery. Any suggestions on how to do that? And it was we touch the mystery of life. So I do believe we grow so much by losses that we've experienced and being able to get through them and heal from them. And one of the most important lessons that I've learned is that the law of attraction does not work by denying pain or denying fear or a feeling that you have and just pretending that everything's okay and sending out the right communication or the right speech to the universe, because you still have that negative vibration of that pain inside you somewhere, and it's still going to send that out. So I recommend really working with that pain, with that loss, and really feeling it for as long as it takes. And sometimes it's grief, sometimes it's sadness, sometimes it's anger. I don't mean going and venting your anger on everybody, but getting in touch with that anger and finding a way to express it through therapy, through stomping your feet out in the woods somewhere, or yelling, or whatever you need to do, and by writing about it, to the point where, and sometimes talking about it, and sometimes coaching, but to the point where, and often just talking with friends or a support group, to the point where you are healing yourself from that pain, and healing yourself in a way so that you're able to move forward to the next step. And it might not be all clear, vibrant energy all at once, but it's going to bring you to the next step. So, great question. I didn't heal from my loss all at once, and yet at the same time I was healing. During a good amount of that time, I was also developing my business and getting myself out there again. So we don't have to be 100% clear and clear vibration in order to offer our gifts and our uniqueness in our business. But it does help to have worked through a lot of that, or be working through a lot of that and working with someone, and then continuing to really move through and work through your feelings and feel them before you get on to the clarity on the other side. Okay, so it feels like enough questions, enough talking for today. I really appreciate you tuning in to this part of the series, this webinar, or listening to this video later on. I hope you tune into the rest of the series, and I'd love to hear from you at Andrea@alignyourenergy.com for your free energy assessment. Thank you so much.